Good morning, everyone, or guten morgen, and welcome to the Rangers Review Morning Briefing. It is Thursday, the 13th of June. I'm Derek Clark, and I'm joined this morning by Chris Jack. How's it going, Chris?
I am very much back in Blighty, so it'll just be a good morning from me to everyone.
Plenty to talk about, all things Rangers. Just before we do, just a quick word for our podcast sponsors. You know the drill by now. They have they're opening up a new showroom in Dunfermline, and they're launching a VIP Vegas-themed weekend this coming weekend on Saturday and Sunday. If you want to be a part of that, folks, I think it kicks off tomorrow, incidentally. If you want to be a part of that, if you want to attend, you can win some cracking prizes, including a VIP trip over to Trump Tower in Vegas as well. Then RSVP at the link in the description. So do go and check it out. Right. Well, before we begin as well, obviously I'm in München at this moment in time. Hats off to the Michael, who I met on the plane heading over to Munich last night. He bought me a beer and we had a good old chat about football and the Rangers review. So I got him to tune in this morning. So if you're watching, Michael, then good to meet you yesterday. Hopefully you enjoy the show. But anyway, people are tuning in because they want to hear about all things Rangers. And Chris, as ever, there is plenty of transfer mummerings to get our teeth stuck into. Kicking off with a bit of a surprise yesterday. Once we came off air, myself and Stevie, news was emerging that Rangers were actively pursuing Connor Barron and leading the way to prize him away from Aberdeen. Can you tell us the latest with regards to that?
I think it's a move that makes a lot of sense for Rangers. I know we've spoken in the last couple of days about the need to add a bit more of a Scottish flavour to the squad, if you like. We also had the show earlier on in the week around about the UEFA squad list and why having more Scottish players within the group was going to be important for that. I think if you look at the departures from the middle of the pitch over the course of the window so far, so lost Lundstrom, lost Ryan Jack. Rangers, I think, do need more quality in there. They also need more numbers in there. You're looking at it, saying, Diomande, he'll be a starter. Who knows what the future will hold for Raskin? I think he'll maybe part of the squad, but you've then got other guys who are perhaps on the cusp, like a Lawrence, like a Cantwell, like a Kieran Dowell. So you wouldn't be surprised if other midfielders end up moving on. Therefore, Rangers will need to add strength and depth in that area of the pitch. And Connor Barron, I think, ticks a lot of boxes for Rangers in that regard. Knows the league, obviously. Obviously, Scottish will tick a box in that regard. But I think he's a player who there's a lot of improvement potentially still in. And you look at the profile of the signings so far, Rangers are going down a very specific route to date. And that's not to say the entire squad will be built in this way. But I think it's important to have guys who are slightly younger, who are hungry, who have improvement in them, who want to take themselves to the next level. And I think Barron ticks all those. So I think he falls into all those categories. You look at the other clubs that are interested, bit of interest in England, a couple of moves or a couple of interested teams over in Italy. So if Rangers could get this move done, I think it would be a very sound bit of business.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was someone we've said on numerous shows that Rangers should be looking at. There was a thinking that he would look to move abroad, with clubs in Italy believed to be monitoring his progress at Aberdeen, also clubs down south as well. But I think it would be a very shrewd bit of business if Rangers go and get him from Aberdeen for what would be a nominal fee as well, Chris. But I mean, he is out of contract. Aberdeen will just be due pretty much trading compensation.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's another one of the attractive qualities, if you like, of the deal. Now, Rangers, they will have to go and spend money. They will go and spend money. There will be the board will go back to the manager once again. But when you're looking to make as many changes to the squad as Rangers are, potentially looking at double figures in and double figures out, you have to be very smart with your budget. You can't just go and throw tens of millions at the squad, because it's just not going to be there. That's not going to be sustainable. You do have to get like the deals have done so far. They put money into Diomande, they put money into Cortez, but then shopped in a different kind of market to pick up Hefty and then Ciala. I think Barron obviously falls into falls into that category as well. I think if Rangers could get him, it would be a very shrewd bit of business, and maybe one that's perhaps underrated amongst a lot of the fans. I know we all like to see foreign players coming in and guys that have got international pedigree. Sometimes, I think, as we've discussed before, you do just need to pick up the best of what's round about you. It's something you think back to Walter's second spell in charge, picking up likes of Whittaker, Naismith, Boyd, Kirk Broadfoot, being able to recruit the best of the rest, almost obviously outside Celtic. I think that's really important for Rangers, and I say Barron falls into that particular camp.
Yep, most definitely. Certainly would welcome him at Ibrox next season. I think pretty much a younger and an upgrade perhaps on Ryan Jack, who's departed the club this summer. So good move all round if Rangers can get that one over the line. Let's get to some of the comments coming in. First of all, I will address this. Goalkeeper says, is that a 90s shell suit you've got on, Derek? And Mark Boyle says, going for the Dolly mixture look today, Derek. Oh, great sweets they are. He says as well, Mr. Motorway Woda GMT or whatever it was called. It's the great guys at Stjarna who do some cracking retro inspired Scotland stuff over. You can find them online. They do some great stuff. So that is the gear I am wearing this morning. Whether I wear it out in public, I know many of you think Derek's moonwalking in Munich, but I'm sure there's people out there with louder things on than what I have. But anyway, let's crack on. Of course, with Barron looking like it may get done. Another player in that position. Big development yesterday on Damian Garcia from Peñarol, the Uruguayan midfielder. Reports over in Uruguay state that he will sign a new deal at Peñarol until December 2026, which he'll get a salary increase, and there will be an exit clause of $10 million. So that looks like a bit of a blow for Rangers, who were believed to be keen on the player, and was looking like it was moving in the right direction. Perhaps should we read into the Barron move, Chris, as the fact that Garcia might not be happening?
Not sure, because Barron was one that has been talked about for quite some time. It was also heavily linked during the January window as well. So I think he looks like a long-term target for Rangers. I don't think it's a case of we've missed out on one, let's just go and sign the guy from Aberdeen. The Garcia one, I know people have been get quite excited over this. Not heard anything from this end over the last couple of weeks to really talk it up. There's been a lot of noise from that end of it, a lot of agent work, a lot of reports in that area of the world. As is the case now, when people know that Rangers are in the market for as many players, it becomes very easy to link Rangers with a whole raft of potential signings. I know I said right at the window there'll be 100 names. I actually meant to take a list of all these names to see how far away we are, because we can't be that far off three figures already. The number of things that have been thrown at us on the show, and the number of WhatsApps, the number of emails and stuff you get to say it's definitely happening. So Rangers clearly in the market for a lot of players in the grand scheme of things, but not anywhere near the number of players that they will be linked with. They'll be linked with many times the number of players that they actually sign. So the Garcia chat, it's all really been coming from that end. So can't really provide any update on how seriously Rangers were taking it, how close they got. I just know it's a name that has, as is the wonder of social media, it's become more and more prominent over these last few days. But I say it's not something that I've had much of a track on over the last couple of days, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of rumours, like you say, Chris, to try and keep notified of. We'll discuss it. Another couple of players that have been linked as well. Paul gets in touch. He says, any more Rachmani news? That's another one. I believe that reports that Rangers weighing up a bid in the region of just over £5 million, €6 million, reportedly from Romania. And the rumour mill, as we touched on a couple of days ago and yesterday, went into overdrive when he started liking Glasgow cafes, and his agent, I believe, started liking Rangers-related pages as well on Instagram. So, listen, he's a player. I touched on it before. Don't know too much about him, but he comes with a decent pedigree in Romania. I've said before, numerous clubs were keeping tabs on him, big names as well. And I said to Stevie yesterday, Chris, if Rangers were to bring in Albion Rachmani, and they have been linked with the move for Tommy Conway. If that was to come to fruition, who knows? Then would you be happy with that front line? Rachmani, Conway, Danilo, of course, and Cyril Dessers if he stays?
I think we're all in agreement that Rangers do need to go and try and strengthen that area of the pitch. Which, considering there was a lot of money spent on it this time last year, doesn't say very much about the recruitment of last summer. Obviously, Danilo, you can give a exceptional circumstances to because of the injury. But Rangers really need to see what they paid their money for in terms of Danilo. It's a big outlay for them last summer. Injury came at just a terrible time for the player, and also a terrible time for the manager as well. Suggestions seem to be that he's come through his rehab well, and he'll be good to go at the start of the season. So really looking forward to actually seeing him get a proper pre-season, try and build on the fitness that he's managed to build up over the last few months. But I think, as we saw with Yanis Hadji, when he came back from his knee injury, you really do have to take your time with feeding these guys back into the squad, feeding these guys back into the starting lineup. So I don't think we can put too much pressure on Danilo straight away, which then leads us on to the requirement for a number 9, because obviously Silva has gone back, Kamal Roof has moved on, Dessers also get his injury issues to overcome. We don't actually have a time scale on him, so we don't know if he'll be back for start of pre-season, or back for the friendlies, or back for the first competitive game. It's a Champions League draw in a couple of weeks as well. So the need to go and strengthen that number 9 position is huge for Rangers. We've seen Cortes come in. We believe that Kadibaye will come in as well. So Rangers are doing work in that final third. But that number 9 position is so important for Rangers. Yes, they got numbers out of Dessers last season, but there wasn't enough around about him. There wasn't enough back up to that. They need more players that can hit those type of numbers and hit those levels. So short of striking links so far, apart from Rachmani, there's not been too many names doing the rounds. There's a lot of guys linked in other areas of the pitch. I think it shows that Rangers do need a lot of players. They need to strengthen every area of the squad, and certainly that spine of the team has to improve. So goalkeeper, hopefully we can hold on to him, and that doesn't become an issue. There's been work done in centre half. There's work being done on the middle of the pitch. The number 9, your main forward, that could be the key area. That could be the area that potentially wins or loses you the championship next season. So a really, really important bit of business, whoever Rangers get. But as we said right at the start of the week, when we outlined the Champions League dates and some of the pre-season dates, time is already ticking. Transfer window. I say these things are. Not even at the first game of the Euros yet, but people are already thinking of next season and what's to come. And there's a lot of work for Rangers to be getting through in these next few weeks.
Yeah, we're going to touch on centre halves shortly because another player has been linked. Hello and welcome to Cammy, who's become a Rangers Review Extra member. Thank you for supporting the channel, Cammy. Just a heads up, I will be on with Adam Thornton at 12 p.m. noontime for our weekly Q&A show. So if you want to get your questions in, I'll pop the post out on the community page shortly after this video. So please get your questions in, folks, and we'll answer as many as we possibly can. Right, let's move to centre halves, because another player you would have seen late last night, reports coming from Sweden that Rangers and Anderlecht have informed Hammarby, the Swedish side, that they want to buy the Ghanaian centre-half Nathaniel Ajayi. So €6 million is believed to be the asking price for him. Now, he's a player that has been linked to numerous clubs in the past, namely Leeds United were credited with an interest. That move fell through. There's been other clubs as well. I think Rangers may have been linked with him in a previous transfer window as well. I'm not too sure if Celtic have also, but he's a player that has been linked to other clubs. He spent the second half of last season on loan at the French side at Lorient, and can't say I know too much about him, Chris, but he's another big physical lad by all accounts. Rangers, as you touched on, looking to strengthen and bring in reinforcements in the centre-back positions. We've already seen Clinton Nsiala coming in from AC Milan. I'm intrigued to find out how he will get on. I said to Stevie yesterday, there's a comment that came in from one of the posters saying that of the back line, do we expect Goldson, Suter and Davis to depart? I think we expect 2 of the 3 possibly to move on. But certainly an area Rangers looking to strengthen. And this is the latest player that has been linked.
The aforementioned Adam Thornton actually messaged me just as we came on air to say that Adeji is a good young player, and that would be an exciting deal. I'll have to take his word for it. He's not someone that I've heard, but I know Adam's very thorough in his research on these things. He's got a piece on Nsiala coming on the site over the next few days for us, as do I tomorrow. An early heads up for my own endeavours of today. But it does show that Rangers do need to strengthen at the back. Now, you round off a couple of the names there. Ben Davies, for me, has to move on. Doesn't have a future here. Same says for Leon King, for the good of his career, has to move on. Goldson is going to be one of the main talking points of the window. So Rangers, they do have to strengthen this area of the pitch. They were obviously far down the line with Jose Cordoba. There's a story that we covered extensively, and it looked like that one was going to happen before. It looked like it was going to happen before it didn't. Now there was other factors in that he wasn't as committed to the Rangers cause as Rangers wanted him to be in the end, and he also decided to move elsewhere. So there's I think there will be more comings and goings at centre half. I think Nsiala, as we spoke about the other day, there looks like a promising player. Perhaps not one you're going to build a defence round straight away, given his relative lack of experience, certainly lack of first team experience, but looks a really promising profile for the future. This one looks a bit more established. He has more game time under his belt. Has played in different leagues, so he comes with a good pedigree. Also comes, if the reports over there are to be believed, it comes with a fairly hefty transfer fee as well. So it would be a real statement of intent if he comes in at this level. If I'd imagine he's one of your first choice centre halves next season. So again, it's not someone that I know too much about, but he's on my to-do list for today. Which every morning 9 o'clock there's another handful of names that just added onto our list to go and try and track down people to speak about them. So he's one of the main talking points of the day.
Yep, and we're looking to speak to a Swedish football expert, folks, as well, who I'll get on the YouTube channel. So hopefully we'll speak to him about Ajayi sometime today or tomorrow. There's also a piece coming on the website from someone that has watched Clinton Nsiala in great detail. So we should learn more about him when he pitches up at Ibrox. Still some comments coming in about my get-up, Barry Smith. This is one for the Rangers dads. Dennis Pennis on live with Chris Jack. So there you go. And Amber gets in touch. Well, I think it's Amber. Can I get a wee request? A wee happy 12th birthday to our Amber. Yeah, happy birthday, Amber. Hopefully you have a fantastic day. Right, some interesting questions that have popped in here. First one, this is one that caught my eye from Denzel. He says, do you think Rangers seem to be conducting very public business this summer? Perhaps too public? Well, the thing with that is Rangers are keeping their cards close to their chest with regards to transfers. The noise and the murmurings are coming from the players' side more than anything else, Chris. I think Nsiala was an interesting one that sort of sprung out of nowhere. I think Rangers like to not reveal who they're chasing in the transfer market, which it was quite understandable, but it's very much coming from the players' side of things with the summer transfer business.
As I mentioned earlier on, with a number of names that have been linked, when you look at the size of the rebuild that Rangers are embarking on over these next few weeks, clubs and agents and journalists in other countries know that Rangers are clearly in the market, and sometimes I think it can become just an easy link to say, oh, X, Y, and Z are linked, and by the way, so are Rangers. Of course, we then pick it up and then have to go and do the relevant digging on it. I wouldn't say Rangers are doing their business in public. I think Rangers are doing their business very much behind closed doors, which from our point of view can be frustrating at times, but I wouldn't say that Rangers are doing their bidding through the press or trying to put pressure on through the media. I think it's as you mentioned there after Denzel's question, a lot of noise coming from the other side of these potential deals. A lot of noise coming from just links being created. There's also a lot of South American links. As I mentioned at the start of the week, the phrase "reports in Turkey" became almost a staple diet during January, and it will be over these next few weeks. Obviously, as Lundstrom and Barisic get their future sorted, we spoke about the links, Gio potentially for Tav and Tom Lawrence. So there's a lot of noise from the other side of it. I wouldn't say there's a lot of noise from the Rangers side of it, but we are doing our best to create a bit of noise and create a bit of interest as and when we can.
Yep. This question from Johnny Alcatraz. He says, if we accept that Tav and Goldson are off and the potential for Butland to leave, are we short of leadership? And is that something you can buy? We'll hopefully have a piece on interest. Of course, the Tav Goldson Saudi rumours will not go away. I believe there's Al Ettifaq, of course, Steven Gerrard's team, is the one that you've seen in the papers. That Gerrard very keen on both, apparently, according to reports in Saudi Arabia. We also believe another team in Saudi keen on Connor Goldson, so we're chasing up that, folks. But I think I wouldn't be surprised to see the pair of them leave this summer, Chris. I think that the time is right for a parting of the ways. Jack Butland, we've spoke about at length in various shows as well. I think he falls into the bracket of player that we're obviously happy to have at the club. However, if a mega money offer comes in and he's Rangers' most valuable asset, then it's something the Rangers board will have to look at. But this question from Johnny about lack of leadership, I think we may have is there a captain in the building at this moment in time if Tav goes, or is it someone you think that Rangers will go out and acquire this summer?
I think it's something that Rangers will look to bring into the building over these next few weeks. I think you look at the leadership group, as it has been termed over these last few seasons. You've lost a couple of members of that recently. You could potentially, as Johnny says, and as you mentioned there, you could potentially lose another couple from that. Hopefully, Jack Butland is not one of the ones that does depart. I would be wary about making him captain, not because I don't think he's suited to it, not because he doesn't have the stature or the experience or that presence about him. I'd just rather it wasn't a goalkeeper. I think when you're building a new squad, I think you need someone who's a bit further up, a bit more involved in the play. Yeah. Whether Tav stays or goes, whether Goldson stays or goes, I think leadership and mentality and all these things, that's something that Rangers have to put into this squad. Now, how many times did we have to address that during the closing stages of the season? It came up after Ross County, it came up after Dundee, it came up after Parkhead, came up after the Scottish Cup game. Rangers do need more players who are just able to handle being Rangers players. They need more players who don't have the scar tissue of recent seasons. And I think there's a lot of scar tissue within that group. You perhaps lost a bit of that, given that Roof, Lundstrom and Ryan Jack have moved on. I think Tav and Goldson still very much have that. But I think regardless whether they stay or where they go, Rangers do need to build a squad that's got a fresh impetus and it's got a fresh desire. I think for a lot of the players that were around that Steven Gerrard brought in 2018 and onwards, 55 was almost their peak, their pinnacle, and it then became very hard for them to try and match that and to go again. I mean, I made this point a few weeks ago. We're almost at that stage of going back to 2018. It's a big clear out required. You're looking to build the next group, build the next core that can see you through, not just going for this title, but going through the next couple of title challenges and potentially winning more silverware, and obviously more silverware than Stephen was able to do during that time. Rangers do need a fresh impetus and a fresh fuel about the entire squad, and having players with the required mentality and standards on and off the park. I think that's going to be so important. So for all you can look at a player and say he's technically good at this, he's perhaps weak in that area, he will fit into the side there. The medical side of it and the mental side of it are two really, really important areas for Rangers over these next few weeks. They have to be sure that the players are robust enough, and they have to be sure that the players are mentally strong enough.
Yep, just on the issue of the captaincy, Chaperone says, "Mike, the keeper captain seems to be undroppable for some. Captains seem to be undroppable for some reason." I think it may be if Tavis to move on. I've seen a comment from Aldo as well, says that he needs the armband taken off him. If this player arrives at the club, I think I said last week I would be one for giving him the armband. Kenny McLean for captain next season. Of course, he's a player that has been mooted. You'll have seen one of the murmurings that Rangers may be looking to take him away from Norwich. He is a boyhood Rangers fan. It certainly divides opinion amongst the fan base whether Rangers should make a move for Kenny McLean, but certainly he would be one, if he was to arrive, a player of his ilk, that I would have no qualms about handing him the armband. Right, let's move on to this point from friend of the show, Stephen Purden, that gets in touch. Morning, Stephen. He says, "Morning, guys. Chris mentioning the number 9 position. What's your thoughts on Danilo? Do we think you'll have a big role to play this season?" I certainly hope so. I was hoping that he would have a big role to play last season, to be honest. For me, the jury is still very much out on Danilo, Chris. He missed a number of high-profile sitters in games. Servette one springs to mind, and I'm not entirely sure you can hang your hat on him being the answer in that number 9 position. He was a squad player for Feyenoord and Ajax over in Holland. He contributed off the bench more often than not. And listen, I think he's a good player. I've seen enough of him, but in front of goal, I'm not entirely sure he's the answer for Rangers, which is why the club are looking to bring in reinforcements. But I certainly want to see more of him next season. Just hugely unfortunate with injury. He picked up a knee issue, wasn't it? He picked up at Tynecastle last season, so we hardly seen him. But for the outlay that Rangers spent, which was a considerable amount, we really need to be seeing more.
I think he's a really difficult one to judge, because when he did play last season, there were flashes in there. There were moments we thought, no, he's technically good. You could see how he fitted into the squad, but then there were other moments where, you mentioned Servette, a couple of other games, and you just wonder, is he clinical enough? Did he look like a 20-goal a season striker? Now, you can flip that and say, in the first few months of the season, did Cyril Dessers look like he would get to 20 goals? And people would have said no. Now, during Michael Beale's time, it looked like he was unlikely to get to 10. Never mind get to 22, I think he finished the season on. So it's hard to completely write him off. I think he does need games. He does need, but he also needs time, because as I mentioned earlier on, it's a bad injury to come back from. We know how difficult it can be to go through that rehab process, both physically and mentally. So a lot depends on how he comes through pre-season, and then I think the manager will be careful with him. I don't, if he can avoid it, I don't think we'll see him pitched in to start games and being a main man early on. We do have to give him a bit of time. But then you think, well, he's a £6 million striker. He's not on small wages.
No,
there's a lot of pressure on him to deliver for a variety of reasons. So I think it's a really tricky one to judge. Maybe come back to us, Stephen. If you come back to us in December, January time, we might have more of an opinion, more of an option on it, because I think right now it's just too early. I think we all like that. We all like the idea of a Brazilian Rangers number 9. It sounds great. It sounds exciting. And it's just whether Danilo is the man to actually live up to those expectations or not.
Yeah, the Brazilian number 9s, I still have I'm still gutted, but I was thinking about Danilo. We discussed him, I think, last week, and I'm thinking of Brazilian number 9s. Remember when Mario Jardel was spotted in a Rangers jersey, and the old infamous red tape denied him the chance at representing Rangers. He went on and was an absolute goal machine in Porto, and scored against Rangers, of course, incidentally, for Galatasaray in the Champions League. But what a player he was. Would have loved to have seen him doing his stuff for Rangers. But hopefully Danilo can steer clear of injury. We know he's doing his rehab, and let's hope he's got a big part to play next season. We'll end up with this very kind thanks to 2 of our subscribers for their generosity. Jonathan Hughes has kindly gifted a Rangers Review extra membership, so thank you very much, Jonathan. And Bluebells Are Blue has gifted 5 Rangers Review memberships as well. Another 5 on top. I think he donated 10, if I'm not mistaken, the other day there. So thank you very much, buddy. That is very kind of you to do just that. For those of you that are Rangers Review extra members, you get up to 3 to 5 extra videos per week. Me and Chris recorded one earlier on in the week about the Champions League criteria that Rangers will have to meet ahead of those qualifiers that are upcoming, and we also recorded one on a Q&A I did with a Godoy Cruz correspondent on Thomas Galdames, another player that has been heavily linked with a move to Rangers. And as I touched on, I'll be joined by Adam at 12 noon time, UK time, as we answer your Rangers questions. So we hope you can join us for that, folks. Over on the website, you'll find a great piece from Joshua on Ridvan Yilmaz. Of course, we said yesterday and Rangers not actively looking to sell the Turkish international. They're hoping that he will be staying at Rangers next season. The player himself doesn't want to move back to his homeland, despite, as Chris touched on earlier, the famous reports from Turkey that seem to emanate every time we enter a transfer window when it comes to Ridvan. And Chris's piece on Connor Barron is also there. The link is in the description below as well, so do go and check it out if you want to keep up to date with all things coming out of Ibrox, all the latest transfer news. Be sure to keep your eyes peeled on our social media accounts, on the website, and also on the YouTube channel as well. Right, thanks to each and every one of you for interacting with the show, and if we don't speak to you later on, then enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Bye for now.